Okay, happy Wednesday, everybody. I've enjoyed getting to have our little Zoom meetings and do these videos. Thank goodness for technology so that we can stay in touch with each other. So we're going to have another Zoom meeting Sunday night. Middle schoolers, your Zoom meeting will be at 6 o'clock. High schoolers, your Zoom meeting will be at 6:45. So I will send those links in the remind, and we're going to have Bible study instead of just chatting and catching up. We're going to do a Bible study when we meet up on Sunday night. So I look forward to seeing and hearing from all of you then. Last week we talked about fear. I did get a couple of responses, so I wanted to share those with you as I said I would. Campbell Roberts was the first one. She responded to say that she really enjoyed the video. She thought it had a lot of good stuff in it. And she also wanted to share with me a prayer request. I'm going to keep her prayer request unspoken. We talked about it a little bit, but if y'all just pray for Campbell for her prayer request and that she'll get some clarity in that. And then Stella Martin also responded and said that, the fear video really helped him think about taking things one day at a time and not getting so caught up in and worrying about what might happen next. And that plays perfectly into our video today about anxiety. This is a quote that says, "There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will." We've talked about this often in youth group, that it's so hard to stop worrying so much and giving up the things that we have no control over. There's so many things, especially right now, that we don't have any control over, that is stressing us out, that's making us fearful and giving us worry and anxiety. So that's what we're going to talk about, is how we can deal with and handle with that. So the first thing is, what makes us anxious? What are some things that give you anxiety about life? So just to be funny first and have some something to laugh about, here's some images that gave me anxiety when I saw them, and maybe they'll do the same for you. I have no words for that one. So this one you might have a hard time seeing, but it's Microsoft Word. They're making a list of numbers, and for whatever reason, right on 86, they decided there's a grammatical error, and they put the little green squiggly line below number 86 for who knows what reason for Microsoft Word. Other than that, I think they enjoy making people stress out about their documents. So this happens to me a lot, where just randomly will act like there's an issue, and it gives me bad anxiety as to what is wrong. I'm very claustrophobic. I don't like tight spaces, and so this elevator that is really tiny and triangular gives me bad anxiety thinking about being cramped in there with a bunch of people in that tiny little elevator. People who do this to their ice cream give me bad anxiety. That is not how you're supposed to eat ice cream. It's very disturbing. And this keypad, we're so used to the numbers being in order. All of a sudden, this is all messed up. It gives me bad anxiety, makes me feel uncomfortable. So if you have some images that you would like to share with me that I'll put on next week's PowerPoint of images that give you bad anxiety, look them up, send them to me, and I'll post them on the start of the video next week so that we can see some more anxiety-inducing images. So what exactly is anxiety? Anxiety is the body's natural response to stress. Your brain releases chemicals just like how happiness happens, with dopamine being released in your brain, those chemical reactions. Anxiety is a chemical reaction to stress. It is what makes us feel so uncomfortable. It's this feeling of fear or apprehension about what might happen next. So the best way I could think to describe that to you as an example is, think of a scary movie when the character has to walk down a long, dark hallway. And at the end of the hallway, you can almost make out the outline of like a monster or the murderer or whatever. The lights are flickering and the music is playing some really weird sounds that make you feel uncomfortable and stressed out. Scary movies are made to induce anxiety and stress you out about what's going to be around the next corner. So you can already see how fear and anxiety are connected just from these definitions. The way that fear grabs a hold of us and prevents us from doing things, anxiety is a similar thing. It's a feeling of stress about things that are uncertain in our lives, things that we're not in control of, and things that we don't know for sure what's going to happen. And that freaks us out. It gives us anxiety. And so that's where it comes from. So what does God have to say about being anxious? Luke chapter 12, verse 25. And which of you, by being anxious, can add a single hour to his span of life? So worrying so much about all these things and stressing out about what's going to happen next, what good does that serve? What purpose does that serve in your life? It doesn't add any more time for you to be able to deal with that problem. If anything, it takes away time. You start stressing and building all these bridges of worrying about what might happen. You just wasted a bunch of time on something that may never happen. So worrying so much about things causes you to lose hours off of your life. You don't get to gain any of it back. And that's what Luke chapter 12 is saying. John 14:27, peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid. That second sentence is tough. Not as the world gives do I give to you. What it's basically saying is that the world causes us to have these feelings of anxiety and stressed out. We see it all the time. The media loves to cover stuff that makes you fearful or anxious about it. And it's good to know the facts. It's important to have the news to be able to tell us what's going on and give us the facts. But news often blurs the line of entertainment, and they're trying to get ratings and make money. And so the things that make money are the things that make people talk a lot, and things that stress people out and freak people out. That's what gets views. That's what gets clicks on the internet. That's what the world gives, is these things, and tries to make you stress out like crazy about every little thing. God is saying that's not what I give to you. I give you peace. And so the more that you're able to let God be in control of your life and take over and not worry so much about the things that you have no control over, the happier you will be, the more peace you will find in your life. This last verse, I threw this in here because if you watch Remember the Titans with us and paid attention, this will sound very familiar to you. Isaiah 40, verse 31. Those who trust in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. This is Lasky and Rev sang this to the team, and Remember the Titans, when they made it back to school. The season started. They won a few games, but they were not coming together as a team. And there was a lot of conflict because of going back into the real world when they left camp. And so Rev and Lasky got the team together, and Lasky and Rev started singing this verse to the team to remind them that trusting God and not what the world is trying to tell them renews their strength, gives them freedom to fly like on wings like eagles. It allows them to run the race that God has put out for them and not grow weary, and they will walk and not be faint. And we talked about this. As Christians, life does not become instantly easy when you decide to follow Jesus. Oftentimes, there are going to be more challenges and struggles that come from that. But the more and more you learn to rely on God and let go of those worries and fears about what's going to happen next in your life, the more peace He will give you, the more freedom He will give you to live life to the fullest. And so anxiety, there's this balance, like what we talked about last week with fear, and how planning ahead is very important, but taking things a day at a time is also important, because when you plan ahead and something like this coronavirus happens and all your plans get messed up, that freaks you out and gives you stress and anxiety and fear. But if you're taking things a day at a time and trusting in God to, take you where you need to go, you sort of lose that anxiety and that fear about it. It's still a problem. It's still stressful that all this change has happened and all this craziness is going on. But you can also have this sense of peace that through it all, we're going to get through it. We're going to be okay. God's got this. And so it's good to have those anxieties and to, be fearful and stressful about things up to a certain point, because the more stressed you are and fearful you are and anxious you are about something, it shows that you're invested in it and that you care about it. But then you start letting it consume you and freeze you in place. And so instead of worrying about it and planning about it and being prepared for what might happen when you do it, you just decide you're not going to do it at all. And that's where that fear grips your life and that anxiety takes a hold of you and prevents you from living. And so pay attention to what the news is telling us. Be smart about how you're taking care of yourself and listening to the guidelines. But also know that God's in control and that He's going to get us out the other side of this and that we're going to be okay. And so be in prayer for your community. Be in prayer for all the doctors and nurses that are working tirelessly to try to heal this country and the world right now, and those that are working on trying to come up with a vaccine. Be in prayer for them and worry about them and worry about the stress that's being caused in our communities and the dangers that are happening right now. But also be a calming presence in your community. Let God's light shine through you. Do what you can to help your neighbors and to help each other out at this time, even if that means by not interacting with them, by staying away from them and keeping your distance from them. Be a positive impact in your community. People can see that peace that you have about life, and it's infectious. It makes people want to be around you more. They want what you've got when they can see that you're okay when things are turning dark and rough and things are getting hard in life, but they see that peace that you have, and they want to know more about it and why you're so calm in these situations. And so let God's light shine through you this week. Also, share with me what you're anxious about. Let me know what you're afraid of right now, what's got you stressing out, what's freaking you out. Maybe it's all this change that's happened, or maybe it's the thought of going back to normal life because maybe there was something going on in your life that this whole situation gave you a break from, but you realize that it's going to come to an end at some point and you're going to have to face that issue, whatever it may be. So if something like that is giving you anxiety, share it with me. If you've got a funny picture or something that gives you anxiety when you look at the picture, send it to me and I'll put it in the PowerPoint for next week. But until then, I'll see you guys on Sunday at the Zoom meeting. Middle schoolers at 6 o'clock, high schoolers at 6:40. High schoolers at 6:45. All right. Thank y'all for listening and watching, and I will see you soon. Have a good one.